today to do my top 11 books of 2016. Ironically, I own every single one of these books. None of them I borrowed from a library, and none of them I have an ebook of. I literally have all the physical books. That is just so ironic to me and so funny. So I have my top 11 books of 2016, and then I'll tell you like my favorite audiobook and my favorite reread and my favorite Harry Potter book. But yeah, these are all the books that I really liked in 2016. All of these, I think, came out in 2016, minus one. I don't know. No, sorry. They all did come out. So these are all new releases. But yeah, so let's get started. And these are in no particular order. I'll tell you my top book when I get to it, but they're really in no order. The first book I wanted to talk about was The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, and this came out over the summer. I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It was a summer contemporary, and it's about this girl named Andy who thinks she has her entire life planned out because she's going to go into this med school, but a Senate scandal not only throws her father's life into a tailspin, but it also sends her life into a tailspin. And she meets this cute boy who's an inspiring writer, and hilarity, drama, and fun ensues. I really, really like this book. I gave it 5 stars. I like the characters. I loved the complexity of the relationship. It was such a good, fast read. I really actually want to reread this book in 2017. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought that the Clark and Andy had a really unique relationship, but it also really focused on both of them. And it wasn't just an Andy story, but it really was a Clark story. I love the elements of writing where you got to see Clark's story. I love the focus on the friendships that were built in the story, and it was just a really, really nice novel, and it was just a really, really good read. If you haven't read anything by Morgan Matson, I highly recommend you read this book. And it dealt with family drama. It was a really, really good read, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then the next book I read is a collection of short stories, and it's called Summer Days and Summer Nights, edited by Stephanie Perkins, and I just loved all the stories in here. It was just such a good read. They were so short, but they all fit perfectly. I really loved the Veronica Roth one. I loved the Stephanie Perkins one. And there was a lot of representation in here. It was just a really, really cool bunch of stories, and that is why I added it to my list. So over the summer, if you're looking for a cool bunch of collection of short stories, I recommend you read that. And then the next one I read was Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. I actually met her at New York City Comic Con, and that is why I have a book. This originally was a library rental, but I really, really love this Sherlock Holmes retelling. It was so unique and so different, and it had Holmes as being a girl, but it dealt with some serious issues that isn't always dealt with in Sherlock Holmes YA novels, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited to read The Last of August when it comes out in February. And then the next book I read was a Owl Crate book for the month of, I think it was September, and this is 3 Dark Crowns by Ken Dare Blake, and this is a novel about 3 triplets that are vying for the same crown. I really loved it. It was a very, very female-heavy book, and it had a lot of there was a lot of magical stuff, but the book and the world was dominated by these female characters, and it was just really, really cool, and I really loved it. I'm so excited for the sequel because it kind of ended on like a game changer. But I felt so invested in what was going on with these characters, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. So that's why this book made the list. The next 2 were also Owl Crate books, but the next one is Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and this was the November book, and this is a retelling of The Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts. I really, really love this book, and I felt like it not only took you on a journey from Cat to the Queen of Hearts, but it also made sense in regards to Alice in Wonderland, and I felt like she did a spectacular job of enhancing the Alice in Wonderland world, but also putting her own spin on it and creating such complex and dynamic characters that really could work back when you read Alice in Wonderland. So I really, really enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars, and I hope you guys will pick it up if you guys haven't already. And my next book is another Owl Crate. I think this was the royalty box. I think that this was June. And it's My Lady Jane by Cynthia Ham, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. And this is a completely unhistorically accurate retelling of My Lady Jane Grey. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was a super funny novel. And this is the first novel I've ever read that's written by 3 different authors. There's three different characters. There's 3 different authors, and they each write a character because this book is told from 3 different perspectives. It is hysterical. It deals with magic and fantasy, and it's just so much fun. And when you read the story and then you look back on real history, you're like, oh my god, if that would have happened, so much stuff would have been so different. But overall, it was such a funny read, and I loved all the characters, all the point of views, and it was just a great read, and super funny. So if you haven't picked this up yet, I recommend that you read it. And then my next book that I'm going to talk about is Walk the Edge by Katie McGarry, and this is the second book in the Thunder Road series. Long Way Home comes out in January, which I'm so excited and this is Brenna and Razor's story. I really like this book. I don't think Nowhere to Run wasn't my favorite, and that was the first book in the series, but I really love the character of Razor and Brenna, and their dynamics and who they became was so unique, and I really love this romance. It wasn't my favorite romance of Katie McGarry. That honor is still held by Logan and Abby, and Beth and Logan, but they are a pretty close third, and I really am excited for Long Way Home, where we get Chevy and Violet's story. But this was a really good read, and if you haven't read Katie McGarry and want to try something, I recommend you pick up any of her books, but definitely Walk the Edge if you are thinking about it. And then the next book is the only ARC on this list, and I got this at New York City Comic Con 2 years ago, and this is Starflight by Melissa Landers, and this is the first book in a series. Her thing, Starburst or Star something, comes out in January, but I am so excited. I really love this book. It was a sci-fi space odyssey, but it was like so easy to read. The science didn't bog down the story like sometimes it does, and I really felt so in love with these characters. Cannot wait for the sequel because we get to learn more about two of my other favorite characters. But I really like this book, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you give it a chance. And the next book is another Marissa Meyer, and this is Winter. This is actually the first book that I finished reading in 2016, and I loved it. It is the conclusion to the Lunar Chronicle series, which is Winter, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And in addition to this book, not only was this a great conclusion, the Stars Above, there's an epilogue that follows, and I think that was probably one of the best epilogues I've ever read in my entire life. So if you haven't read it yet, go read it, but I really love this conclusion. It's a massive book. It is like 800 pages, but it was also really good. I felt like everyone wound up somewhere that made sense, and the epilogue in that conclusion really made the story even more powerful at the end. And my next in the Trials of Hell, this is The Hidden Oracle. This is the first book. Well, this is a new series for him, and it takes place back in the Greek world, but it follows the god of Apollo after he's been turned into a teenager, and I really love this book. I thought it was so unique and so different, following a different character that has so much memories and so much life memories, but is still just a teenager. And I loved the characters that we met, and I really loved Apollo, and I am so excited for book 2, The Dark Prophecy, because one of my favorite characters has returned and will be a critical part to book 2. So if you have not started The Trials of Apollo, go out and read it. And my top book of 2016 is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It is the first book in the Illuminae series, and I love this book. It was such a fast-paced novel. I love the format of it, which is told in found documents, and I just was so invested in the story and these characters. I literally cannot wait to read Gemina, so that will be the second book that I read in 2017. But those are all my top books. I also had a top audiobook in 2016, and that was Talking as Fast as I Can from Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls by Lorelai Graham. If you have not checked out that book, I highly recommend you read it. It is super funny, and if you're at all a Gilmore Girls fan, you should definitely check it out because you will get a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff about Gilmore Girls. And my top Harry Potter book is still Harry Potter and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, but I also really grew to love Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Let me know what your favorite book was 2016, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!